The moment the junior facilities guy blocked my path with wide eyes and a hushed warning. "Don't go into boardroom for yet, Ms. Langford." I knew my morning had just veered into revenge territory. I froze mid-stride, latte still warm in my grip, and slipped behind a pillar instead of pushing forward. Seconds ticked by like heartbeats. Then the double doors swung open, and out strode Vanessa Langford. No relation, thank God, decked in a crisp pantsuit, strutting like the hallway belonged to her trust fund. She was the CEO's niece, barely out of college, armed with nepotism and zero shame. She claimed the front of the room, clicked the remote, and my entire proprietary architecture lit up the screen. My custom deployment orchestration model, every decision tree, every gated approval loop, every hashed integrity marker I'd spent 4 brutal years perfecting for Helix Forge Consulting. Even my subtle overlay signature lingered in the footer, faint but unmistakable. She launched into the pitch with my exact rhythm, deliberate pauses, the same rhetorical questions I used to hook skeptical directors, the slide cadence I'd honed through 100 late-night revisions. It wasn't inspiration. It was plagiarism with lipstick. I didn't storm in. I retreated to the quiet alcove by the emergency exit, pulled out my encrypted tablet, and summoned the forensic trail. There it was, 3:07 a.m. login from an internal terminal, using my elevated API token. Not VPN, not proxy. Someone had physically sat at a desk in this building and cracked into my vault. Badge scans, MAC address, geofence data, all screaming one culprit. My system never screams back. It simply records, encrypts, and notifies. Because when your intellectual property anchors a $140 million go-to-market pipeline under a third-party custodial license, you don't leave doors ajar. You install silent sentinels. Section 9.2, be unauthorized credential proxying equals material breach, triggering auto-suspension and mandatory escalation. Vanessa kept gliding through the deck, tossing out my analogies as if she'd dreamed them up over brunch. The room chuckled at my signature coffee or courage break slide. Then the CTO, usually sharp, leaned forward. "Walk us through the rollback quorum logic again?" She froze for a half-second too long, then mumbled something about dynamic failover cascades. Wrong. Dead wrong. My model used weighted consensus gates with cryptographic attestations. She was reciting theater, not engineering. I stayed invisible, sipping now cold coffee, watching the dominoes I'd prepositioned begin to tip. The moment she invoked the Langford-Hayes protocol, my name, casually credited like I was a dead theorist, the first alert fired. Legal was already inbound. They entered without fanfare, 2 stone-faced attorneys in charcoal suits. No necking. Just presence. The taller one, Patel, held up a single sheet. "Who authenticated as Mara Hayes at 3:07 this morning?" Vanessa's smile flickered. I was granted temporary rights. For briefing continuity. Patel didn't blink. The session originated from an unauthorized endpoint. It pulled assets under Helix Forge custodial control. You understand what custodial designation entails. The room went tomb silent. Vanessa's aunt, the division head, stared at the projector like it had personally betrayed her. I tapped send. A crisp violation dossier landed in every senior inbox. Timestamps, token fingerprints, failed sandbox probes, highlighted contract excerpts. Section 9.2b glowed in red. Patel scanned his phone, then addressed the frozen audience. No individual may present or derive from these materials absent explicit written delegation from Mara Hayes or Helix Forge. This session constitutes impersonation under the MSA. Vanessa stammered about family guidance. No one bought it. I left before the excuses peaked. By noon the ecosystem began collapsing. Dashboards dimmed. Release gates locked. Budget approvals errored with custodial suspension, contact license principle. Slack threads filled with? And ghosted replies. A frantic contingency rebuild channel spawned. No invite for me. At 4:22 p.m. the executive viewports turned crimson, access revoked, consult primary holder. Vanessa vanished from channels the next day. Administrative hold notice, 0 spin. Her aunt's apologetic email arrived hours later, respectful, pleading for renewed partnership. Legal replied on Helix Forge letterhead, reinstatement contingent on full renegotiation plus $142,000 remediation invoice. No discounts. By week's end the pipeline was ash. Coders stared at locked terminals. Finance reran projections from zero. Investors whispered. A discreet trade blog noted, major fintech delays $140 million rollout over licensing dispute. They rebuilt from fragments. My watermark remained etched in whatever scraps they salvaged. Never underestimate the quiet woman who owns the keys. They smile while you steal, then watch everything you built collapse the second the contract wakes up.